Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Acsom Bulletin. It's Tuesday afternoon. It's myself, Declan McConville, joined by Patrick McGill. We'll be talking all things Celtic. We'll be talking Big Ange after his interview in Stan Sport yesterday. If you've not checked that out, it is up on YouTube. It's well worth a watch. We've obviously been drawn against Dundee United in the Scottish Cup quarter-final. We're chatting about that. We've not been on since last week, Patrick, so we've got to get our thoughts on Aberdeen and the Cup game, which you and I took in at the weekend against Raith Rovers. And of course, we have this UEFA Conference League game against Bordeaux Glimt. Highly anticipated. We're back in Europe after Christmas, something we didn't have the pleasure of last year. And we'll be seeing what is ahead for us before our visit to the Arctic Circle the following week. Pat, let's start with Ange Postecoglou. There is a real good fuel factor around Celtic at this moment in time, and this was another thing that added to it. The first comments to kind of pick up on, I think, was the one that got the most attraction. Didn't get a lot of attraction in Scottish media, but I thought, everybody else covered it pretty well. Was Ange talking about his connection with Celtic, talking about social justice. What was your thoughts on that? We've really got a guy here that fits the bill, if you will, of the Celtic manager's job.
Yeah, and all the press conferences he's done in the last 8 months, he sort of got the feeling that he got what the club was all about. And when he gave his story, being a Greek immigrant, I think it was the age of 5 or 6, his family moved to Australia. I don't think his mum and dad can speak English. Well, his dad's dead, but I don't think his mum can speak English to this day. So, the third and fourth generation, of today's Celtic fans will have experienced that coming over from Ireland, a lot of them. So you can see a real connection there. And then he made that comment to, I forget the guy's name, Craig somebody? Craig,
yep.
Aye. The one they had the big ding-dong with about 15 years ago, about the refugees, the work that he's doing in Australia. So to come out and say stuff like that, it shows that he's just a brilliant guy, as well as a top manager, an elite football coach. And he said himself in the interview as well, he found a real affinity with the club. It's like a match made in heaven, really, from our point of view. So delighted to hear it, and delighted to know that the manager's quite a good guy as well. These are things that he can really connect with Celtic with, very similar histories, and hopefully can stay for a long time.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, that old Bob Kelly line of Celtic's much more than a football club. It is too many of us that support it, and to hear things like that is always heartwarming. It's always good to know that you've got a guy in the dugout that knows what the football club's all about, and gets it, if you will. And that's just adding to the great results that we're getting at this point in time. Some of the things I think is key to touch on. He was talking about European football, Patty. Just to get this up, I took some notes when I was watching it, and he was talking about us being not ready at that point to tackle the task in European football. This obviously ties in with this game against Bordeaux Glimt. This Thursday, he spoke about not being able, just not being in the position to do it. And he's got, knew we weren't ready for it, but he's saying that, that the teams that we got, in terms of Bayer Leverkusen, Real Betis, he says he always sees Bayer Leverkusen as a Champions League outfit. Obviously, Leverkusen and Betis, both third in their leagues. Celtic always seem to get these tricky Europa League draws, unlike other teams. But both third in the leagues, and he said it was always going to be a really good challenge. And he said the 4-0 game against Leverkusen was the game, I think he said this in his open goal interview, where he thought the group would learn so much from it because it showed where we were and where we wanted to get to. He said, because if you think about the minute mistakes that we made in that game, we were absolutely punished for them. But again, talking about the confidence and talking about Bordeaux, we'll get on to Bordeaux to talk about them later, but he said that he'd take notice of them well before we were drawn against them. Obviously, that 6-1 mauling of Jose Mourinho's Roma and then getting the draw back over there in the Olympico. But he says that the Conference League is a great opportunity to test ourselves once again. And he said it's what he loves in football is testing himself out against good European sides, Patrick. On Bordeaux and in the Conference League, how big an opportunity is this for Ange Postecoglou and this squad to once again test ourselves European football?
100%, absolutely, and I think it's. I don't think it's a must-win game. I think the priority is the league, but to get over the hurdle of winning a knockout tie after Christmas for the first time since 2004, it's a massive opportunity, and I don't think you'll get a better opportunity unless we somehow end up Well, I mean, I'd like to think we won't be in the Conference League next season. I like to think we'll win the Champions League and maybe drop down. But certainly for a couple of seasons, I don't think we'll be in the knockouts of the Conference League anytime soon. So you're not going to get an easier opponent. You're not going to get an easier draw. So I think it's a massive opportunity, not just to beat Bordeaux, but to try and do something in the competition. Because you look at the teams and you maybe think to yourself, oh, maybe 2 or 3 of those, more money, better players. But we've seen over the years that in one-off ties, we can beat these teams. I mean, if the Lazio games a few years ago were knockout ties, we'd have beat them 4-2. You've just got to sort of play your own brand of football, give it your all, and see what happens. So I think we're in a great position against Bordeaux, and I think you're right in what you were saying. I think it was actually Betis and Leverkusen, which were the 2 disappointing results in the group stage, that Ange actually thought to himself, "Oh look, the players are buying into what I'm doing here," and although it finished 4-0, it probably wasn't a 4-0 game, that Leverkusen game. I mean, just looking at the fourth goal, even the penalty I don't think is a penalty, and then their fourth goal, it's like it goes in 1 in a million. I mean, outside the box, top left corner, unbelievable. But we're in a lot better position now than what we were back in August, and we beat AZ Alkmaar 2-0 in August. So I think you've got to fancy yourself.
Yeah, I'm sure we do fancy ourselves. Paddy's asking, where's Lawrence today, lads? Well, Paddy, I'll tell you where he is. There he's right there. He's just joined us on it's Tuesday. Lawrence, how are we?
I'm doing well, mate. I was out celebrating yesterday, 10-year anniversary. It was great fun. I'm sure you all were taking part in the celebrations.
Well, from celebrations to Ange, hopefully it's another celebration at the end of the season. We're talking about European football, it's just where we're at. We're talking about Bordeaux. We're talking about this Stan Sport interview that he did yesterday and his connection once again with the Celtic support and what he was talking about in terms of the European ties that we've already played and the challenge that we're going to get from Bordeaux on Thursday. We'll talk a wee bit more in depth about Bordeaux later in the show. But to come on to this point, he was talking about signings. He was asked about the A-League. He says, he's still got great connection networks over there. They were obviously, I think they're trying to get something out of him on Riley McGree. But, I think we're all probably in agreement that Matt O'Reilly's certainly fit the bill and we've kind of forgotten about Riley McGree. But in terms of the signings, he said that the club have given him good support to take us in the direction that he wanted to take us, Lawrence. He said, we can't go 2 seasons without winning, having any success. He certainly brought his success instantly with his first trophy under his belt. But he said that he knew instantly he was going to be judged on signings. And he said the key one for him was Kyogo Furuhashi. He knew he could be successful here, which again comes back to him having that clear way of what he wants the game played. He said before he goes and gets a player, he imagines him in his team and sees how he'll fit in. And again, he refers back to his wife. He says, when we go shopping, mate, I have absolutely no idea what we're after to get. But he says, when I go out shopping in terms of transfers, he knows exactly what he's pitching and knows exactly what kind of player he wants. How fresh and good is that to hear, Lawrence? As well as that, he also touches on the club, Celtic, having specific markets to deal in, but he says, I look everywhere, mate. I don't just look in one market.
Listen, I think just having a manager who's got such a focus and belief in himself and his system is great for us. And you can see that on the park, not just in his signings. But he's come out, he's so honest, and he said, look, this is the way I'm going to be. It's attacking football. That's just the one way I know how to play. And I'm going to get players that fit that. And, Matt O'Reilly, what a find. But, when you look at O'Reilly, when he left Fulham, not back a contract so he could get first team football. It's that kind of desire to play, isn't it, that we want? And I suppose Joe Hart's shown that as well. He came up here, take a cut in wages, just so that he could play. And it's having guys that want to be out in that park playing that aren't happy to be sitting in a stand or sitting in a Premiership squad somewhere, with very little chance of playing. I think it can all be good for us. But his signings have been phenomenal so far. And the value for money is just out of this world, isn't it? If he keeps this up, no wonder we've got so much in the bank. It's just great. Ange can do no wrong. And I thought when you're going to say you're talking about European football, the president had come back to you and me and Paddy do indeed have tickets that you promised for the 25th of May.
You're going to keep pressing me on this, and I think if we keep playing football the way we're doing, then there's no reason why we can't You know, there
Quadruple
is no
on.
reason why we can't get to anywhere near that stage. I think it'd be great if we could, but it's one game at a time. It is one game at a time. Bordeaux is going to be a challenge. They are Norwegian champions, and we can't underestimate them. I know Ange certainly isn't underestimating them. Patrick, he spoke about his philosophy of football again. He says, you know, when he went into the football library, he went to one section and he stayed there. He said, if you want me to set up a team and get a draw, I can't do it. It's just not in me. I want to win games of football. That, I think, bodes well for games like this, where at Celtic Park, we'll probably want to try and get the tie sealed up and done on it on Thursday evening, due to the fact as well that Bordeaux's not played a lot of football. But just everything around this interview again, I thought once again Ange looked so much more comfortable and relaxed when he talks to Australian journalists, just due to the fact that I think there's a mutual respect there and there's nobody trying to catch him out when he's talking to them. And it was also, you know, there was a remission yesterday, the social justice thing that we were chatting about at the top of the show. It's not been reported on in one Scottish newspaper outlet, as if there's just a kind of ignorance between this. It's an important point, I think, for all Celtic fans that we like to recognise, and you know the Scottish press just don't want to pick up on it.
Yeah, it's an awkward one. It's as if they don't want to talk about Celtic's history, the foundation of the club. I'm not entirely sure why not. Alan Morrison tweeted about it last night, I believe. It really is quite strange that they just. I mean, I honestly don't know the reason for it. I can't understand why they wouldn't tweet about it. I mean, the manager of the team at the top of the table has just discussed his social attitudes. You can have a good guess at his political views from the interview as well, and the Scottish press just won't talk about it. I mean, their football analysis is quite thin in the ground as it is. You know, we've got guys who play golf, can't remember the Scottish Cup ties last season, embarrassing himself on Twitter. So, you know, I suppose we probably need to lower our expectations for what the Scottish mainstream media pick up on. But, you know, we can cover it. Celtic fan media can cover it. And I'm sure we'll cover it well. You know, Australian journalists don't seem scared to pick up on this stuff. So I'm quite happy to listen to them as well. And it's good to hear that the manager believes in that sort of stuff.
Yeah, you know, testament to him sitting in there office early in the morning, obviously in for his work, but wanting to talk to outlets and get his point across. You know, he spoke about wanting to have that break with Australian football. I think later down the line, I wouldn't really be surprised to see Ange returning to coach the national team. That's after he's obviously won the absolute lot with us, and as he can do no more. Jim Hannaby's came in to say after the Rovers game, you have to hand it to Ange. It's not just about winning; it's how you win. Work hard, the success follows. We'll get on to that Rovers game. I think his post-match comments again were very, very interesting. But Pittodrie, let's go straight back to Pittodrie. Come to you on this, Lawrence. Absolutely coasting by half-time. One of the most comfortable performances I'd ever seen us play up there. Again, cracking turnout from the home support as usual up there. I know they're in a bit of disarray, but my goodness, I don't know what they'll do with their time. But again, it was Jota, Magic, and O'Reilly. What a performance from them in that first half.
Listen, we should have been 3 up, shouldn't we? And the game would have been done at 3. But obviously, a dodgy offside decision, not that it get too much coverage in the press as some decisions did. But, you know, second half we fell away a bit. But it's 5 hard games for us. Another 3 points. You know, Scott Brown was obviously able to rally the troops a bit. I thought it was a couple of fouls for their first goal. You know, Brown pushing Starfelt. It's, again, not highlighted by the media, but I'm not too sure we'd expect it to be. But 3 points, I suppose, is all that mattered, wasn't it, at the end of the day? But is it a worry that we're tired a bit? Yeah, but we've kept the 1-and-run going, and it's just, you know, Pittodrie's never the easiest place to go, as you said. It looked really easy for the first 45, fell away a wee bit in the second 45, but I thought at least one of their goals there was fouls at. You know, we should have been at 3 at half time if the officials had been on the ball. But I don't know, sometimes a 3-2-1 sweeter, isn't it, than 3-0.
Yeah, the home support certainly got right up for it at 2 each, and they went very quiet instantly when Jota
Well, I heard there was
Obviously,
some singing for 30 seconds in Glasgow as well.
yes, I think possibly might have been, yeah. But of course, it's been told that the goal is offside and shouldn't have stood. But that goal you've picked up on, Lawrence, to me, I think it's a completely different game. If the third goes in, and the third should have went in, there was absolutely nothing wrong with it. And some people, I think, maybe need a pair of these when they're drawing big lines to show where the offside is. Patrick, does it concern you that the manner of the two goals we lost very quickly? Going forward this season, they were very poor goals to lose. Free kick, there's no runner. There's a possible foul in there, though, from our former captain on Carl Starfelt. But again, I think that just became a bit of part and parcel of the game, the pushing and shoving that goes around the box. And then the header from one of your favourite players, Lewis Ferguson, to make it 2 each. Ramirez went, scored after that offside. But were you concerned at all? Sorry, Ramirez had scored before they get that equaliser in. But were you concerned at all when it went 2 each? I mean, the mood inside the stadium changed. I thought, kind of remembering back to Tynecastle, 2-1 when they get the penalty, and thought this could turn very quickly here. But again, we ghosted the game out, and it was an instant response, which I think's very, very important from that group of players that we did score really, really quickly.
Yeah, well, I was at work, so I was watching on a stream that was running behind. So I seen that they'd scored a second, and then I checked a sort of live score up, and it was 3-2 to Celtic. So I only spent about 10 seconds worrying about the result. And then after we made it 3-2, I didn't really have an opportunity to watch the rest of the game. And then I had the chance to watch all the goals back, and I did see the one that should have made it 3-0. I seen that, and I thought to myself, I didn't have any commentary, so I thought, well, it must be offside. Then you seen the alternative angle, and it wasn't offside, so I thought it must have been a foul. But then when you see it back again, it doesn't look like a foul. So you're right. It should have been 3-0. And I don't see a lot of problems with the goal that we actually scored either. I mean, Abada's offside, but Abada doesn't interfere with the play and he doesn't touch the ball. Yeah. So I'm not seeing a lot of problems there. But yeah, the first goal that we conceded was disappointing. I mean, for a man to run from the back post to the front post totally unmarked is a bit concerning. The second goal, you could say Ferguson just jumps higher than the rest of them. But again, it's disappointing to lose a goal from a set piece. Not only that, to concede a free kick immediately after you've conceded a goal from a free kick, it's pretty daft for Celtic. But we responded really, really well. We got the 3 points. I thought we deserved to win the game based on our performance. So, can't say fairer than that. And then, we took care of the cup tie at the weekend.
Yeah, I thought we were, thoroughly dominant in the first half, and our first half displayed certainly merited the victory. I know there's people, we're asking questions about, this idea, Lawrence, that we play good one half, bad second half, but, played very well in the first half, and we thought we managed the game out at 3-2, which to me is, getting a 90-minute performance. Probably not the 90-minute performance that Ange would like, but we're getting results. And I think, as you said to the three of us, or any Celtic fan, Rangers at home, Fir Park, Pittodrie, 9 points. You'll do it. I think that's really testament to the team. And it's 20 games unbeaten in the league, something that people maybe aren't picking up on. But I think that really shows the journey that we've taken, and even the journey that we've taken from the last time we played at Pittodrie, when it was our first away game, our first away win. I think that was the first away win. Patrick, you'll correct me if I'm wrong, for about 6-7 months or something on the road. We hadn't won away.
In October, it was 8 months. I think it was February. Kelly away, maybe? Possibly, was the last away win before that.
So 8 months. So, I think we've came on a real journey here, Lawrence, and 20 games unbeaten, to me, says everything about the team. I'm not really concerned about conceding the 2 goals, because we're getting results, and we look like a team that can grind out games if we really need to, and manage games if we really need to.
I suppose both were must-win games, probably because because our form wasn't that good, and we really need to be picking up points. But this one is it's back to the must-win we like, so as we stay at the top of the league, that we keep good runs going. It's just 3 points is all that counts. You take 1-0 from now to the end of the season, wouldn't you? Just keep getting the 3 points, keep this run going. The players are coming back, and it's an amazing run. Ange has got them on. 1 trophy in the cabinet already. Apparently we're second favourites for the Cups, because we've got such a terrible record in it over the last 4 years. I don't know. It's, it's just nuts stuff. But listen, I think everybody's enjoying it, isn't it? 20 games unbeaten, sit at the top of the league.
Quarter final of the Scottish Cup, League Cup in the bag.
Yep, League Cup in the bag. Me and Patrick, 25th of May in Albania, with tickets, watching us lift another European trophy. It'd be great.
100%. That would be.
Are you getting yourself a ticket for the game?
Well, I'll need to see. It depends if we get there or not. I'm hoping that we do get there or not, and hopefully if we do, the president will sort me out and the other guys. On just quickly in Aberdeen, no, we're going to talk about Celtic, but I think there's a couple of wee lessons that could maybe be learned here, Patrick. They went to a project manager, Stephen Glass, and he's brought guys, Christian Ramirez, I thought it was a very good signing for Aberdeen. He's one of their top players. He's a goal scorer, he puts himself about. I don't think Scott Brown would be anywhere near Pittodrie if it hadn't been for Stephen Glass either. Is there a lesson to be learned in the wider football context of appointing a project manager and not giving them time? Dave Cormack's obviously in Scotland just now. The fans were turning against him at Fir Park at the weekend. We'd heard the chance of we're not very good at Livingston. I thought there was a response in the Aberdeen performance against us, but is there a real lesson to be learned here just very quickly in terms of football, in terms of bringing a project manager from, a country like the USA over here and how little time they've given him? Or do you think you had enough time? He had obviously 2 transfer windows.
Yeah, I mean, he got his own staff with Scott Brown. He had 2 transfer windows. It's a matter of how long you give these guys, Obviously, the results weren't very good, but, I didn't watch Aberdeen enough to know whether the performances were any good or not. You can sing we're not very good when you're winless in 8 games, but if you deserve to win a handful of those, it's a difficult thing to measure. As someone who only watches Aberdeen when they play Celtic, I really couldn't speak on it. I think 11 months, I think you've been given quite a big chance there. If you've been given 11 months. Not a lot of managers will get 11 months nowadays. If performances were still pretty average, then I can totally understand why they get rid of him. But again, they've now got Scott Brown, probably on a big wage. Christian Ramirez, who is a good player, but he's a player that's only there because of Stephen Glass. I'm sure there's other players that are there solely because of Stephen Glass. Stephen Glass. So it's a matter of where they go from here. I think I seen on Twitter last night that they were linked with the Bordeaux manager.
That's one. Yeah,
that would be handy. Hopefully,
he is in Scotland too. He's in Scotland too. If Dave Cormack fancies a chat with him just before the game, make them a bit more uneasy.
I really hope that they get him because I think that would be a great appointment for all involved. No, they just need to try and get a good manager in, don't they? Not up to us, thankfully. They can do their own thing. It'll be interesting to see what Scott Brown does from here, obviously. Whether he moves on or something. But no, I think he's probably had enough time. I mean, it was 11 months he was there, so I think that's enough time to make your mark. And if it wasn't working, then goodbye, Stephen Glass.
Yeah, we won't dwell on it too much, but there is a Celtic connection here because Barry Robson's going to be in charge of them too. Former Celtic midfielder, obviously. And it could be a wee kind of revolving circle here. We know Billy McNeil went up to Aberdeen before he ended up back at Celtic Park, and we'll interested to look at where Scott Brown fits in this whole picture. Not that we're trying to shift anybody on, but it's always interesting to understand these things in the world of Scottish football. Patrick Dolan's came in to say it made no sense getting short of Glass with 12 games to go. They'd be hoping to get bounced back for Barry Robson. Could easily make top 6. Just quickly from you two, who do you think could be in the hot seat at Pittodrie? I think it would Jim Goodwin. Patrick?
No one comes to mind, so I'll go with Jim Goodwin as well.
Lawrence?
I heard rumours of Ronnie, mate. Yeah, I'd love to see Ronnie back in Scottish football.
I don't think you've got to swap New York for Aberdeen. As much
going
as
for
that.
Another,
not for the Northern Lights. Lights
going for
the Northern Lights.
Going for another manager in the MLS, I don't think they'll do that again after Stephen Glass. I think they'll probably look elsewhere.
Yep, Jim Goodwin for me, and I think we could end up having that revolving door. Wouldn't be surprised to see Jack Ross back at St Mirren. And obviously our former manager Neil Lennon is also linked for the job at Pittodrie. And the curveball Gordon Strachan is in there. So it'll be interesting to see who takes that job, whether it's a former Cell or whether it's a Celtic supporter.
I don't think Strachan will take it. Last day I spoke to Strachan, he said he just didn't have the anger anymore for club management. So I can't see him coming back as a club manager.
I think they maybe need a bit of anger up there at Pittodrie. But anyway, we'll get on to the Rovers after that. But it'll be interesting to keep an eye on that one. Just a bit disappointing since I've managed to take 2 points off our nearest challengers this season. Stephen Glass did all right in those games. So, but hey ho, good luck to him and his next endeavours, wherever that may be. Rafe Rovers, Patrick, you took in the second half behind me in this one. Lawrence, what was your thoughts on the game? I don't think it was a 4-0 game, but however, like Bayer Leverkusen Celtic, minute chances against a lower opposition team, good teams punish you. We've heard Ange's comments after the game, speaking about the squad not being at the level where he was at. I didn't think in the 7 changes there's a lot of guys coming in there and pushing and saying, "Hi Gaffer, I'm here, pick me."
But that's what you wanted, wasn't it? You wanted some guys to say, "Look, I've got the shirt, you can't drop me now." But you didn't see that impetus. Maybe it's the number of changes. Maybe that's just it, because the team's playing really well together. So maybe it was just the number of changes. Good to see Giakoumakis get a goal. Really happy for him. Hopefully he can keep it up. I thought, the Rangers game was his best 60 minutes I've seen him so far. So, but sometimes it's hard to lift him for, I suppose, a smaller game, isn't it? Let's be honest, Celtic were always going to win that game. Maybe that comes into a wee bit. They knew there wasn't that much a threat from Wraith. So it's 4-0. All you need to be was in the next round of the Cup. As you said, it wasn't a particularly impressive 4-0 win, though. It's kind of just running a mill, and it was disappointing that the squad players didn't maybe stake more of a claim. Good to see big Julian getting 15 minutes. I'm not too sure how many more minutes he'll get this season. I honestly think we should put him on loan. He's got less than 18 months in his contract now. Heartbroken for Mikey. Another injury. It's just, the boy's not having any luck, is he? He just seems to come back and it just seems to break, a few minutes in or a few games in, he's injured again. I don't know if it's going to work out for him at Celtic or not now. He just seems to be picking up injuries all the time. I mean, he did a decent shot just over the bar, trademark cutting inside. If he'd kept that down, but yeah, happy we're in the next round. Disappointed the squad players didn't grab it. Good to see Chris back and good to see Giakoumakis getting a goal.
Yeah, there's a lot of Giakoumakis loving in the chat here, so we'll talk about the big Greek striker. Everybody was saying they were happy to see him get a goal. I saw the image after the game. There's a real sigh of relief in his face, Patrick, to get that goal. But I think the big man's definitely deserved, the goals that he's got in the past few weeks. He's came back after this January break. It looks to have been working really hard, and you can see that in his performances. I thought he was a key to our victory in the Glasgow Derby. His hold-up play in that game, he had 2 really good chances, and he lets the 2 wide guys go and do their thing. Again, he links up really well with Jota at the weekend for his goal too. How key a player can Georgios Giakoumakis be for us in these next 12 games? Is that right? 12 games to go in the league.
Yeah. Hopefully Kyogo's back soon. So, hopefully there's only 1 or 2 games. I say hopefully. It's sad for Giakoumakis, but I'm saying hopefully there's only 1 or 2 more league games where Kyogo isn't fit for. Because, he's by far the best striker we've got. But I thought we missed Giakoumakis when he went off against Rangers in the Derby game.
I
the
thought we
last
missed him
half
at
hour.
Pittodrie too. I thought we missed him.
I thought Pittodrie would be the type of game that he'd be
really suited to.
Aye, really up for, because it is a bit of a battle at times. I know we've got so much quality that we can play right through them at times, but other times they'll just turn up on fire, looking for a challenge, looking for a battle, and we really need to dig in. And it's been that way the 2 times we've been up there. Even the home game at Celtic Park, we never really finished them off. So I thought he'd have been an option, but obviously not. And then, when Maeda comes on, he's probably only really get 10 minutes in him in that Derby game, and he's on for half an hour. And we just need to try and
manage him
keep them out. Aye, we need to keep the opponent out for the last 20 minutes of that game because we've got nothing going forward, virtually. It is quite unfortunate for Mikey Johnson, as well as Lawrence said. How much of it is down to luck, though, because he doesn't look like a guy who's built to be a professional footballer. As good as he can be, he's had he's had a couple of minutes of brilliance in the last 2.5 years. How many injuries has he had? He's had 4 or 5. So a lot of it can be down to luck, but a lot of it, I think, is he of the level? And week on week, it seems to be no is the answer. But, next round of the Cup, 12 games to go in the league in Bordeaux on Thursday. So getting into that part of the season where you just need to keep on running, don't you?
100%, and that's it. It's just, Lawrence said earlier, you take 1-0 every week. 1-0s will win your league championship for the rest of the time, so that will do me. Les in the chat is going to keep us up to date. Their nephew does Barry Robson's windows, so we'll get the inside track from him. Thank you very much. Lawrence, great goal the first half from Liam Scales. Really, really tidy finish. He does that position very, very well, coming doing that inverted fullback that Ange looks for in his players. Again, we saw Anthony Ralston coming at fullback. We spoke last week, and we were talking about the Rangers game. We spoke about Taylor and Juranovic, the great balance of the two players. I think the fullback's a position I'd say I'm less concerned about, in that you can rotate quite well in those areas and you don't miss what you've got too much. Juranovic to me is a level in class above the rest of the guys, no disrespect to them. But, for games like this, I'm very confident that if we do rotate the fullbacks, we're usually quite sound.
Yeah, for Wraith Rovers, rotating is fine, but I'm not too sure Scales is... I think the
going
gap
forward,
between Scales
I don't think so.
and Taylor is the same as the gap between Ralston and Juranovic. We'll put it that way. I think Taylor's definitely your first choice, but
100%.
Miles, and so is Juranovic. Yes, it's maybe one of the positions we might look to improve on in the summer. Who knows? But Taylor's been singled out by praise by Ange. I think he's a cracking wee player. Never gives us less than 100%. But we've got decent enough cover. But I think maybe we might look to bring in somebody of Juranovic's level. I think that would really take the team up a bit. Because as solid as Taylor's been for us, I think it's somebody maybe we might look to improve on. But I think Scales is easily some distance off of Taylor. What Montgomery's going to do on loan will be interesting. See how he gets on now.
Under what manager, we don't know.
Aye. He done all right at the beginning of the season, so if he can get some more minutes under his belt, he might improve. It might be an option for us. But yeah, the fullbacks were covered well enough for Scotland, aren't we? But we'll see. I think Taylor stick on first choice for me, the same as Juranovic at right back.
Brown Warrior, who is our usual Tuesday contributor, comes in to say, replace Mikey with Dembele in the bench, see if Ange can convince him to extend his contract. Pat, I'm going to come to you in this one. It's a really good point. Now with Mikey Johnson going to be out for a long time, I do imagine it will be a while. And, Ange just said he wouldn't hold his breath in this one. Does this open a path for Karamoko Dembele to get back into that Celtic bench and possibly get minutes in his legs? Obviously, we know he featured in pre-season. He got that horror tackle in on him. And I think it was Bristol City or Sheffield Wednesday was a game. I think it was Bristol City. And now he's back. We've seen him in training and stuff. Does the Johnson injury give a pathway to Karamoko Dembele back onto the bench at Celtic?
I think it does, yeah. I think Karamoko's a right winger, Johnson's a left winger, but, you've seen Jota switch, you've seen Forrest switch. I think it's just the preferred position. I think, if he has one good game, he might already be ahead of James Forrest this season, because, apart from that semi-final goal, James Forrest, especially on Sunday, I thought he was abysmal. He had a chance to have a shot about 12 yards for goal, and he just kept on running with the ball, ends up wasting the chance. He never took on his man, despite being up against, I think, a 30-year-old left back for Wraith. So he certainly needs to buck up his ideas. He doesn't seem like the type of player who's keen to press all the time, which is what Ange is looking for, and it's something that Abada's done really well this season. So, I think you've got to have Abada first choice in that right wing, but the backups certainly up for contention, and if you give Karamoko a few minutes, maybe even a few starts this season, he's playing under an elite manager. Personally, I think the sky's the limit in the Conference League this season. I think you can convince him to sign a new deal. And even if we only get one season out of him, you can get money from next summer, because if he leaves this summer, we'll get nothing. I think maybe might get a development fee. I think you have to pay that for a young player, but that'll be what, $250,000, and we know he's worth more than that, Karamoko Dembele. But I mean, on the other hand, James Forrest is another one. His contract runs at the same time as Julian, and I think if neither of them show anything before now and the end of the season, I think you probably need to look at getting money for them, because Julian's basically had a good 9 months, and Forrest hasn't kicked the ball since COVID started, in my opinion. So you're looking for a lot out of those two players, or else you're probably looking to move them on in the summer.
Lawrence, buck up his ideas. I thought James Forrest was very poor at the weekend. I agree with Patrick. Apart from that semi-final goal against St Johnstone, he's not did a lot to contribute to Celtic this season. He's obviously had injury problems the past 18 months, 2 years. There's been no consistency in his play. Where do you see Forrest fitting in under Ange now? Because it just looks as though, I don't want to say the time is up, because Forrest has given so much to the club. He's been such an important player for so many years. He's won so much at the club, but is he the odd one out in this Ange setup now?
It's definitely second choice out in the right, isn't he? I think this season's just really been disrupted by injury. Whether he's going to get back to the level he can get to, I don't know, because he has played a lot of football since he was it 4-0 against Motherwell, his scoring debut. So yeah, he won't appear as often as he's appeared in the past seasons, will he? I think he's a bench player now. I don't think he's a starter. The way we've got 5 subs, you're going to see your attacking options coming off the bench more often than not. So I think Karamoko will get minutes and Forrest will get minutes, but I don't think Ange is a respecter of reputations, is he? So I think it's whoever's going to perform the best for him is going to get more minutes. So I think James would need to step the gears up if he wants to get back in the team.
He can't cop players playing 45 minutes, Patrick, was what the manager said after the game. Brown Warriors came in here to say Forrest has come off a long layoff. All players need game time. Forrest no different. I'd agree with that, but Patrick, is he going to get the game time in this Celtic team? Because we've said, 12 games left in the league. Dundee United up at Tannadice isn't going to be an easy game in the Scottish Cup, and certainly the ties, against Bordeaux, and possibly, further afield. I don't think it's going to be time to rotate squads anytime soon.
No, you're probably looking at that Dundee game in the league next Sunday to rotate squads, and that's the sort of games that Forrest needs to play out his skin to earn a contract, because we can't go into these situations that we're in the past couple of years where players in the last 6 months of their deal and we're looking for a nominal fee. We either need to sign them up this season or look to sell them in the summer. And I've just looked there. Forrest is 31 this summer, and a 31-year-old winger is only going to get slower, and he's not played well for 2 seasons. You are probably looking to move players like that on. I know it's difficult for a player who's been there for 12 seasons, but if you're looking to improve, if you're looking to take your club to the next level, there's no room for sentimental contracts, especially on players of Forrest's wages. Even if he's a bench player, you're looking at that thinking, you're bringing a 31-year-old off the bench. How much is he going to contribute in the next 2-3 years? I think he really does need to buck up his ideas and start performing. I know he is just back from injury, but as a Celtic fan, you've got to look at what's best for Celtic. And I think maybe need to look at moving him on. But as you're saying, will he even get the chance to perform? Julian as well. We've got that settled partnership. I think it's that Dundee game. Julian could maybe get 45 minutes. Forrest could maybe play the whole game. It's just a question of will they get the time to earn a new deal?
Yeah, it's I think there's a key point in what you're saying, Patrick, there, and John Bull in the comments is saying there's no room for sentiment. It needs to be what's best for Celtic first. In terms of the player trading model which Celtic operate, there needs to be a clear look at, Julian was a £7 million centre-half that we bought in. We don't want him to leave for free, which would be the case unless we offer him a new contract. And again, there have been very good wages for that. James Forrest will also be one of the top earners at the club. Whether he merits that new contract will come to see in the next few months. Obviously, we would like two players to play out their skin and get the new contract, because at this point in time, the Celtic players who won't need to go and pay for anybody else. There's obviously Cameron Carter-Vickers is yet to be our player. We hope he is our player. I think that may be one of the reasons why Julian will still be considered in the frame as a potential. But again, is Chris Julian going to be happy being third choice? Because I think at this time we're very settled in Carl Starfelt and Cameron Carter-Vickers being our centre-half partnerships, avoiding any bad injury given to both players. I imagine that's what we'll be sticking with for the rest of the season. But we'll see. We don't want to write players off. It's just about whether they're going to fit in this whole Ange system and whether they can do it for the manager. It was 7 changes, Lawrence. We heard Ange roaring in Premier Sports, don't pass the ball back. The ball goes to Joe Hart, and right away it's 2 forward pack passes. Again, it's just that it shows that wee bit of experience in the team that he knows when, the ball needs to go forward and stuff. And again, we turn to the bench. That's what the bench is there for. We probably didn't want to turn to guys like Jota to come off the bench and Maeda to come off the bench, but we did, and we got there in the end. And it's Dundee United in the quarter-final of the Scottish Cup. The comments about we're nowhere near where we want to be as a squad, where does that improve? Does that come on the training park, or does that come from more additions into the squad?
It's a bit of both, isn't it? Ange's got a reputation of developing players, but I would say Julian's 4th choice just now. Welsh is surely ahead of him, isn't he? And I can't see
probably
him.
In game time. Yeah, 100%.
If you're turning to somebody in a game that means something, you're going to go to Welsh rather than Julian, because he's just been out for so long, hasn't he? But just now, Welsh definitely ahead of Julian. But improving the squad, I mean, Ange has shown he knows how to use the transfer market, doesn't he? He definitely, he's also improved players. Look at Ralston. So he's able to do both, and it's just kind of mixing it well. I'd say Forrest, though, touching on James, a year left in his contract, one club man. I don't think, if he doesn't do enough to get another contract, if he leaves for free, hopefully he still gets his testimonial for us. I know that's overdue, but I think he's just been a brilliant servant for the club. But it does look like his career's on the way down. He's not at the heights he's previously been for us. So if we keep him for an option for a year, to run his contract down, coming off the bench, he's still a decent player for us, certainly in terms of Scottish League standards. Good experience in Europe as well, maybe when we're up against it, he can take the ball for a run, hold on to it. Would it be the worst thing, if he left on a free and got to sell a big payday at the end of that contract? I wouldn't be too bit disappointed. Julian, I think, is a bit different. He hasn't contributed anywhere near as much as Forrest to Celtic, and also we laid out a fortune on him. And his comeback took a lot longer than they expected. But don't forget, we had him last year. We had him the UEFA Cup squad, didn't we? He was named as one of them, and it was almost every week he was going to come back. Almost every week, so he's back about 4 or 5 months later than expected. So I'm not too sure what the hold up was there. I don't know what kind of player he'll be after a 13-month layoff either, but it's one of those ones I really thought we should have got him out on loan just to get him game time, because I can't see him getting it here. And then he's going to be in the summer, year left in his contract. Do we offer him another one? Who would come in and buy him? It might be that, but maybe if Cameron Carter-Vickers signs, we might have to take 2 or 3 million if we can get it for Julian, because if anyone comes in, they're going to go, well, the guy's not played for 18 months now. And what could we all offer another contract on to him? Because we'd be saying the same thing, you've only been back training for 5 months. We can't really keep you in the big wages. So Julian's a kind of, I think he's different from Forrest. I don't think we really owe Chris anything. I think he more owes us, but I think we definitely owe Forrest something. But, and if that is just to let Forrest run out his contract and get a final payday and a final move, so be it.
Yeah, I think, that there's a lot of good points that you make in that, Lawrence, that, wages is going to be an issue here, because we're going to go into another transfer window where we've already got guys like Barkas and he's still within the squad that are on big money. To bring more players in, it's going to be about managing that wage budget. Forrest and Julian will be 2 of the high earners at the club. There's no chance that Chris Julian came for £7 million and isn't earning, circa 18 grand probably a week easily. If that's what Barkey's on, Julian's probably in far more. So there's guys like that, and it has to be considered. Patrick on this point again for Brown Warrior, who came in, talking about that pathway for Karamoko. He's seen it Forrest twice. He believes it's Forrest twice. He played at Johnson and Dembele at the moment, and unless you replace him with better, then why get rid? To me, I think there's probably going to be an issue with wages on this, and just due to the way Ange has scouted players and the way he's brought in, I think we could probably find a gem in that right hand side who we could probably get in a lot cheaper wages to develop, or possibly develop Karamoko Dembele. We've not really seen him being given a chance under Ange just due to that injury that he's had.
Yeah, well, I mean, the issue there is even Johnston has the ability to get better. I think Karamoko Dembele's 19, so sky's the limit again. There's loads of potential there. I think he was named as like one of the top 50 16-year-olds in the world a couple of seasons ago. So the sky's the limit with him. Johnson, time's running out, but there is still time for him to become a decent player. Forrest, as I said earlier, he turns 31 in the summer. The only way is down, I'm afraid. Doesn't matter whether he's a good player now or not. Not only that, he's probably on more than Johnson and Dembele combined. He's not contributed in 2 years. I personally just, I don't think we're going to give him a new deal. I can't see that at all. So it's just a matter of whether you want to get money from him or whether you just want him to be a bench player for the next 18 months. And that's a decision that Ange will have to make, because I like to think that Ange will be here for the next 18 months. The question then is, how do you convince Karamoko Dembele to sign a new deal? You probably struggle if Abada's your first choice and Johnson, Forrest's your second. So you don't even get money for him. It's a balancing act. I'm not entirely sure. And then if you sell Julian in the summer, then you probably need to bring in another centre back as well as Carter Vickers, in my opinion. I don't think we can rely on 3 centre backs when you're playing 2 of them. We've seen Beaton at centre half so often in those qualifiers. It gives me nightmares. But yeah, it's a balancing act, and I think it's whether you want to be sentimental with James Forrest or whether you want to get money for Karamoko Dembele, I think, is the question, while also having a decent enough playing squad to compete in Europe and win the league.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that one. It's going to be an interesting one because there's 12 games to go in the league, as I've said. It's a trip to Tannadice in the Scottish Cup. It's Bordeaux home and away, the Norwegian champions, which won't be easy. Squad rotation has been key to Ange so far this season, but these games, we are going to need to have to rely on a big squad, and on the basis of the performance on Sunday there, the big guys I think that he's probably looking at and saying, can I rely on you? There will be games against that kind of bottom 6 teams in the league where we might rotate a bit, but we won't be able to make whole scale changes to the side. Whether that means breaking up the centre half partnership and bringing Julian in there, or Welsh, and then it's hopefully Abada keeps fit throughout the coming months. Obviously, we know Jota can go over to that right hand side, and Maeda can play on the left hand side. It's just where these guys fit in. Listen, I would love it if Julian and Forrest get lots of game time, the two of them play at their skin and earn that new contract. But again, we're just looking at it as a situation of what if, because we don't know what's going to happen in the next few months. Bodo Glimt, let's go into the champions of Norway for 2 years in a row. Meditation sessions, gentlemen, have been having. They have been. They've had kind of coaches in to talk all about this stuff. They've been recommended to meditate through the day. They are a side to obviously grab the attention when they beat Roma, and they've been having mental coaching sessions too. So there's a lot of psychological stuff going into this game about Bodo. I think the first place to start on this one, Lawrence, Patrick Berg obviously departed for €4 million. Eric Bofim, I think is the way he pronounced his name, not too sure, departed to go to Krasnodar. He scored 2 of the goals in the 6-1 game against Roma. Bit of transition, probably not the team that defeated Roma that we're going to play here. What is your expectations of the game against Bodo Glimt? Because we can't underestimate this. They're the champions of Norway, and will certainly be up for this.
Listen, I think Ange will have us up for it too, and I'm expecting Ange ball to blow them away. I think 3-0 at half time, and then we'll just manage the game. But when you look at it, as you say, they've lost a couple of key players. I think we've definitely improved as a team since the draw was made, and I fully expect us to go out and dispose of them. And the dream of the quadruple still to be on. Parking, my dream for the 25th of May in Albania. with tickets courtesy of yourself still to be on as well.
We'll just wait and see about that one. To take a quote here, Patrick, from Ulrich Saltness, who's their footballing director, I don't think Roma were prepared for us in any way. They came late to the city. They didn't have a training session. I don't think they were ready for the weather, the conditions, or our players. I think there probably was a bit of underestimation from Roma going into this game. There was probably a bit from Mourinho where he just didn't really, consider them too much. But I'd certainly think, as Lawrence says there, Ange will have us up for this game, and has probably been looking at Bordeaux Glimt like other European sides ever since that 6-1 mauling of Roma. I think we'll be well prepared for this one. Do you not?
Yeah, I mean, in a way, that 6-1's probably the worst thing that's ever happened to them, because then the European spotlight was on them, and everyone was having a look at them. And I think they sold at least one player to Hibs. I think they might have sold two players to Hibs actually, and then you said the other two that departed, to Krasnodar, and then that Patrick Berg who was their star player.
Different.
I think Ange is everything that Jose is not. Ange is a full-time football manager. Jose's on TalkSport. He's doing ads for betting sites on Sky. He's arrogant, which Ange is not. He's tired. I think he's finished, actually, Jose Mourinho. I think his best days are well behind him. Whereas Ange, he's a manager whose stock's on the rise. I don't think Ange will be underestimating anybody. He certainly didn't underestimate Wraith Rovers. We were 1-0 up, cruising, and he's having a go at his own defenders for passing the ball back the way. He is not underestimating anybody. So I think when we go out there on Thursday night, Ange will be wanting the exact same as he did in the Derby game, the first half, the intensity. Because, under previous managers, even under Brendan Rodgers, we probably weren't as fit or as intense as what we are now under Ange. That Motherwell game in particular, we were a full flow for 90 minutes. Unbelievable, that performance. And I think if we repeat that for the rest of the season, we'll go far. I like Lawrence's prediction. I'll happily take 3-0, half time or full time, because I think a 3-0 lead going away to Norway, even Celtic can't blow that.
No.
Which I'm probably jinxing that there, but no. Over 180 minutes, we are by far the better team. We've got a better manager, better squad, get more money. We should be blowing these guys away, but it's just because of the psychological hurdle we need to go over that we're all very hesitant to stick our necks out there and say we're going to give them a mauling. But I think it'll be comfortable in the end.
2004 is that psychological hurdle? Is that right?
I think it is. We beat Barcelona, then lost to Villarreal in penalties, I think it was.
So 18 years since Celtic have won a knockout tie after Christmas. Hopefully those wrongs are put to right. Stick comes in on the chat here to see on that Stansport interview Ange did the other day. They gave him a Bordeaux scouting report, saying they play similar football to Ange. Yes, they did. One of the guys that was on, Lars Silverstone, I think his name was talking about, Ange seeing a lot of similarities between Bordeaux and Celtic. And again, that comes to, the first comment I read out earlier was the Bordeaux captain, Ulrich Saltness. And this comes from their sporting director, Bjorkan, who said, I haven't met a team that are as organised as us, or any team who have better fitness than us. When you understand where our players are coming from, players who have been written off because they're not good enough. Lawrence, fitness, organised, Bordeaux are topping themselves right up for this tie. This could be quite a tasty game because they do play very similar football with Celtic. Are you expecting it to be quite expansive in that to allow Celtic big gaps to go and do our stuff?
But listen, if they do get punished, I mean, the same players that have been written off, I don't know, like, it's not good enough. Like, I don't know, Joe Hart, like, Jota was at Benfica. So I'm expecting them to come out and go for it. But we know that the way that's we'll play. Celtic Park and European nights, will they be able to handle it? That, they'll maybe need those mental training sessions. But I fully expect us to smash them at Celtic Park. Honestly, think 3-0 and making the away tie more or less a formality for us.
Yep. Kyogo's, it's obviously not Kyogo coming because we've got a photo of Captain Kill here. Superhero Kill saying that Bordeaux play a high pressure game similar to us. Got to make it two great ties. Totally agree with you on that one. I just hope that we can come through it. On your comments, Patrick, Fraser, your pals came in to say that'll be us losing 4-3 in aggregate. Yep, and Fraser obviously witnessed Patrick jumping up and down on Sunday when near Beaton scored for Celtic, something for the ages, just because he'd won a bet. But, the man that doesn't like near Beaton, there he was with the two arms in the air shouting and bowling, and he tapped in his rebound from the penalty. What would be your side for Thursday night, Patrick? Because 7 changes into the cup game against Raith Rovers, I do imagine there to be a wholesale of changes from that game coming in. I'd imagine guys like Jota, Abada, etc. to start. What would be your starting 11 for this game? And where do you think the game could be won and lost?
Well, we agreed in our starting 11 the other day, didn't we? After Roderick's disappointment on Sunday, I didn't think he played that well. I think you've got to play O'Reilly. I think you've got to go with Hart. Jovanovic will be back. Starfelt and Carter Vickers again. I think you've got to go with Taylor. Although he scored, I didn't think Scales played all too well the weekend either. I wasn't a fan of his performance. I think he's played a couple of good games for Celtic, but at the weekend I thought it was quite disappointing. McGregor, O'Reilly and Tatati. I wouldn't rest any of those three. And then I think you probably have to go with Giakoumakis up top, with Jota and Abada out wide. I would have said Maeda because he's fast, and I think that could come in handy in European games. But he got his goal. He's been playing well for us, Giakoumakis, so I'll stick with him. So that would be my 11.
Yep, I'll agree with that. Lawrence, any changes to that one?
No, I think we're all going to agree. I think Giakoumakis just edges Maeda out of it. But yeah, I think he had a cracking 60 minutes against Rangers. He's built on the performances since. So yeah, I think that's what we start with. And we've got enough options on the bench then. But yeah, I think we're all in agreement in the first 11, first time for everything.
Yeah, I think we are probably all in agreement. I think that's just off the balance of what we probably watched on Sunday. And, what we've got going into this game in terms of availability. Obviously, we do hope that Jura's back fit. I think that could be a real added benefit to our side if Juranovic comes back in. He's a really key player for us this season. And hopefully he gets back into the side. Patrick, back onto Bordeaux. They've been doing an intense training camp in Spain throughout this to prepare for this game. So obviously a bit of warm weather training. As I say, they're a bit of transition. They've lost players, they've added additions into their team just due to the time that we're getting them at. I don't doubt that they're a well organised side. I don't doubt that their fitness levels aren't, very good. I imagine that they will probably run us very close in terms of fitness throughout the game, because they wouldn't be at this level if they didn't have that. But just due to the timing of the match, surely that's going to benefit us. I know before we had said that we looked at that Copenhagen tie and said, are they going to be ready just due to the long layoff? But I think, if I'm right in saying Bodo's not played a competitive game for 3 or 4 months, surely that benefits us because our players are playing at peak fitness. Or is it going to be the old, their players coming in fresh, raring to go and just, possibly nick something? I hope not.
Well, we thought we had the big advantage against Copenhagen, didn't we? And then we failed to take our chances in the first half of that away leg. And then, of course, Jose Simunovic totally gives the game away at home. But I think that was more down to the players and the manager rather than Copenhagen's fitness two seasons ago. No, I think their last competitive game was the night we beat Real Betis because they'll have played their 6th match day that same night. So, what's that, 2 months ago? Over 2 months ago, they played their last competitive game. And, the warm weather training camps have served us well in the past, apart from last season. But, we have a team at the top of our game. We've got guys coming back from injury. Rangers and Motherwell was probably the best football we've seen under Ange so far. If we can repeat a performance like that, I can't see us losing the game. In saying that, I think we need to probably win the game by 2 goals or more, because, being away for the second leg, it's always a bit dodgy. You're always a bit nervous, Beersheva showed us that 5.5 years ago. So I think we need to build up a 2-goal lead, if not more.
Yeah, I'm not too confident getting into the game. I'm never too confident with Celtic in Europe. I saw the goals that we've shipped so far in Europe this season. I do think we will be okay in the game, but I don't know too much what to expect from Bodo Glimt. I think it'll be 2 tough ties. We'll come off the back of this. Obviously, we played Dundee at Celtic Park. If we go through the fixture, it's going to be, in between a cup game away to Tannadice, just to quickly touch on that before we finish. Quarter-final draws out there, Lawrence. It's a taste away to Tannadice. Be a tough old game, but again, if you're going to win the cup, you need to win these games, and we always take a really good travelling support up there. Obviously, that was slashed a wee bit just due to the weather conditions the last time. It's a tricky place to go. It's been tight games against Dundee United this season, apart from the game in Tannadice. Should hopefully get a result when we go up there again, just if the squad's in the place it's in just now. That game should just take care of itself.
Hopefully, listen, they've given us a couple of tough games, fairly physical. I think we lost McCarthy and Turnbull, didn't we? Different games to them. So you'd like to think we'd beat United, but they've been a tough opponent for us this year. I think we'll win, but they have been a tough opponent, and it gets fairly physical. But if we're going there having just built up a lead against Bordeaux, we're going to be in a high. It'll be 21 game streak then, looking to make it 22. We're favourites. For me, we're favourites for both games. We're expected to win both. Hopefully, against United, we can see a bit of squad rotation if we get a few goals up.
United will be the following round if we get past Bordeaux, Lawrence, in that one. So again, it could be a tricky opposition, just depending on how results go. So it could be a tricky one. But I'm a wee bit sceptical about squad rotation getting into this one, Patty. I know we're looking weeks down the line here, we're looking a way forward to March, but even a game like that, up at Tannadice, I don't think you can afford to rotate too much, because Tam Course has got Dundee United really well set up. They're in a really good position this season. I think he's, been far better than what they had last season. Obviously Tony Watts came in January. They've strengthened in that department. Be a tough old tie, but again, as I say, Lawrence, if you want to win the cup, these are games you need to go and win.
100%, and don't we jump the gun, and I don't want to rush him back from injury, but I think Kyogo will be back by then. So if you're playing Kyogo in the European games, you've got Maeda and Giakoumakis who can play up top. Hopefully Julian will be match fit by then.
Turnbull will be back by then, I'd imagine, possibly.
Turnbull, you've got 5 options. You probably get 5 first choicers competing for 3 places in midfield, so you can rotate there. Hopefully Forrest can be relied upon in that game. I think you'll probably have to stick with Jota for all 3 matches. But again, you could play Alkmaar again. You could end up playing Roma. You could end up playing, I think it's LASK. I can't remember the others off the top of my head, but on paper they're tougher than Bordeaux Glimt. So it'll be an interesting 10 days or so, 7 days when we get there, if we get there, because we need to get past Bordeaux first. But yeah, I mean, the way we play, I don't think we'll concede more than 1 goal to Dundee United. So if we go 2-0 up, I think that'll be the game wrapped up. But again, not getting ahead of myself.
No, 1 game at a time under Ange Postecoglou. That first game up is going to be Bordeaux Glimt on Thursday evening in the UEFA Conference League. Then it's Dundee at home. But again, it's 1 game at a time. We're in all fronts and all competitions just now. And hopefully the victories continue and we edge closer to that 38 game in the league, and we are still top. That's what we're all hoping for, due to the form we have found since Big Ange has been around. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us on A Celtic State of Mind. We'll be back tomorrow on the Bulletin. We'll be talking and previewing Bordeaux Glimt, and again we'll be returning on Thursday for your usual match day coverage. Thank you to Lawrence Conley and Patrick McGilt for joining myself, taking the convo on A Celtic State of Mind.